Convert your audio and video files into accurate text transcripts in
All right, let's get this party started. How's everybody doing this morning?
Good.
Good morning.
Morning.
Did you guys hear my hype up music?
No.
You couldn't hear it? Did anybody else hear it? Was it working?
I don't think it was working.
No, damn it. I literally like put on hype up music. So all right, we'll figure it out. We'll get this going eventually. I remember when I was working at that company Leaf Filter that was doing like hundreds of millions. Every sales meeting they would just start with like super pump up music for 2 minutes and then they'd come on and I was like I need to find good songs there, but I'm like the worst DJ ever, so you know, it's tough. How's everybody feeling?
Fantastic.
Love it.
Good.
Yeah, that's what I like to hear. Awesome. Well, the pot has grown for the end of year pot. I got two clients in the last 2 days, so really small clients, $2,000 a piece. So there's $400 in the pot, but figured I'd just mention it. Um, I got a guy who I spoke with as well. I think he's gonna buy 15 grand on Friday. We'll see. Cross my fingers. That would add another $1,500 to the pot. Another person today that's probably gonna buy as well. So should be having some serious money added to the pot every single month. Very, very well, immediately, right? Which is great. Um, so that way, no matter what you guys are doing, there's always a big pot to split for the people actually putting in the work who are going to learn this and skilled and be dominant quickly. So let's get to it. Today, I wanted to kind of go back to the basics and talk about, I guess you could call it the way I see the world, which has allowed me to excel in, I mean, in most of the things that I've done in life. Not to be like egotistical or anything, but like I feel like I have a way of looking at the world that has enabled me to soar past others very, very quickly time and time again. And I think if I can explain to you guys like how I think and how I've been able to do it, you guys will be able to apply it to this and really use it to uh, help yourselves be more successful with this and other things. So I just want to talk about that today. First, I want to talk about it in like a sales context. So you guys know that I always say this, right? There's a consistent and predictable way to do anything. There really is, right? Um, anything you've ever wanted to do, anything you've ever wanted at all, there's a way to do it that just plain works, that gets great results. There's a way to work out that's going to get you fitter faster. There's a way to do sales calls that's going to get you more closes. There's a way to do cold calls that's going to get you more appointments. There's a way to hold a tennis racket, which is going to make it more likely that the ball goes in. There's a way to do everything. And one of the big secrets of life, which I didn't learn for a long time, was that everything you already want to know and all the skills you already want to get, they're already out there and they're proven, and you can just copy what's already done. Right? Just like I was talking about yesterday with Michael Jordan and Sam Walton, right? They took all the best things from everybody else that was doing what they did and made it their own. And when I was young, I used to always just want to go into the hardest things because I was like, easy things are boring and I want to focus on the hard things. Because I wanted to learn on my own. I didn't want anybody's advice. I didn't want to talk to anybody. I was like, I'm gonna figure it out. But like successful people do the exact opposite of that, right? Like literally the exact opposite. What they do is they go, what works? What is already proven? And how can I do it myself successfully? How can I apply that to the things I'm doing to instantly be successful? And so for all of you, obviously I'm teaching you guys cold calling, but there's 100 or 1,000 other sales trainers in the world, probably way more than that, that have done it successfully. And they've got blogs and they've got podcasts and they've got YouTube videos and they've got courses and they've got all of these different things. I mean, I still probably watch 2 to 3 hours a week of sales training every week. Like while I'm doing this with all you guys, like I've already been an elite salesman. I've been the number one sales rep at a company with 1,100 sales reps, but I'm still training every day, constantly trying to get better, constantly trying to improve, constantly trying to figure out how can I make things work. And so my belief is that essentially we're like a can machine, right? And this is my big sort of breakthrough thing, is that if you have a can machine and you put in aluminum, you get an aluminum can. If you put in wood, you get a wood can. If you put in iron, you get an iron can. Whatever you put in is what you get out. And I think humans are the exact same way. Whatever you put in is exactly what you get out, right? Elon Musk, before he got like super successful in the midst of it, like now he's worth freaking 400 billion or something. But when he was just worth a couple billion, people asked him like, how'd you build a rocket company? And he was like, I read books on it. They were like, huh, that's funny. Like, how'd you figure out how to build rockets? And he's like, I read books. And they're like, no way. Like, that's not how you could just become a rocket builder. And he's like, well, there's a bunch of books on how to build rockets. There's a bunch of books on how to do sustainable energy. There's a bunch of books on how to, absorb energy from the sun and do, basically photosynthesis through power cells. And I just read like a gazillion books on that stuff. And then, eventually I had all these ingredients in my mind and then they formed together and they were like, oh, I could do this. And he built a car company and he built a spaceship company and he's building all these other crazy companies. And I just think it's the power of the fact that we are human can machines, right? What you put in is what you get out. So like for me, I basically don't read the news like 99% of the time because it's almost all negative news, right? And so it's just like if you put trash in, you're going to get trash out. If all you do all day is you spend hours every day doom scrolling, trash in, trash out. And so the number one thing that's helped me is just constantly putting in good all day, every day. Good, 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 good. Um, you know, I probably spend at least 20, 30 minutes a day just watching mindset videos every day, have been for years. literally how to dominate, how to be the best in business, how to make money, how to be successful, how to have incredible relationships, how to make my wife happy, how to, be a great dad, even though I don't have kids yet, but eventually I will. Just constant, like, just nailing myself with as much positive knowledge as I possibly can. And I just think that's something that's really valuable. And I think for any of you that want to excel at this or anything really fast, like, you want to do that. So now if we start applying this to sales or something, if you want to get good at cold calling, you should look at cold calling videos constantly. Last week I started YouTubing a bunch of cold calling videos, and now I'm getting all this stuff that's cold calling this, cold calling that. That's why I sent you guys the video the other day of the 10 openers that guy used, is because that literally just like showed up on my feed, and immediately I went and watched the whole video, and it was like, this is awesome. I got to present it to you guys. And what's great too is the algorithms these days, they pay attention to what you watch, right? Because they want you to watch as much as possible. And if you're watching, a bunch of stupid stuff, you're going to continue to get a bunch of stupid stuff. But if you know that these things are attached to us and you're never getting rid of this, right? We're going to have this to the end of time. It's going to be this, and then it's going to be like visor glasses, and they're going to constantly be pushing all this stuff at you. And if you want to become the best person you can ever be, you got to say no and skip past all the shit, and you got to just take in the things that are good for you. And if you can do that, you'll be able to level yourself up really, really fast. So that's the first thing I wanted to talk about. I think it's important. Really, really, really important. So now I want to get down to the consistent and predictable things to be good in sales. I think life's pretty simple. I think we all complicate things way more than they have to be. Like relationships. You guys probably think relationships are, there's so many elements to it, right? There's like I don't know, 1,000 things you can think of, but it's like, how do you have a good relationship? Right? You treat people good. You don't yell at them when they, fail. You go, hey, I understand. It's okay. You'll do better next time. You have leniency. You forgive people. You know that at the end of the day, what matters is not winning a fight. At the end of the day, what matters is having a good relationship with someone. So if they're trying to fight you, you go, I get it. I'm sorry. You take the blame, even though it's not your fault. Because if what matters is a good relationship, then it's not about the fight. It's about just like being a good person, being nice, making people feel good. Like, it's obvious, right? These things are obvious. There's not a lot to it. And so I want to apply that to sales. So I want to talk about closing for a second, and then I want to go back to cold calling. I think of closing as like effortless. I came up with a couple new offers 2 days ago. I presented each one of them in the last 24 hours, one this morning and one yesterday. And I think I'm probably going to hit a 50, 60% close rate with this business now. And it's like I've been in it 2 months. That's nuts, right? And it's because this is why closing's so easy for me. Step one, someone has to admit they have a problem, right? If they don't admit they have a problem, they're not going to buy, right? People don't buy a burger unless they're hungry. That's a problem. Now I'll buy the burger, right? So people don't spend money unless they have a problem. Fundamentally, every single time. Problem first. Then, on a closing call, you got to get someone to admit that they can't solve it on their own, or maybe they're successful already. And for those people, they're like, I could do this, I just don't want to. I would rather pay to have somebody do it for me, or I would pay to have it done faster, right? It's one of those two things. And so if they admit they have the problem, and they say they can't do it on their own, or they want it done faster, and they're willing to pay for it, then it's like, well, perfect. You present them a solution and they buy, and they almost always buy. But if they won't admit they have the problem, they're like, yeah, this is nice. Yeah, I mean, I'd like to grow my company. It sounds good, but I'm pretty satisfied. Like, a guy could say, I want to be at 300K a month and I'm 30K a month. And I'm like, okay, cool. But like, why aren't you there? And they'll be like, well, I don't know. I'm not working hard enough. Okay. So if you worked harder, you'd be able to do it on your own. Yeah. Okay. So why aren't you working hard enough? I don't know. Someday I'll do it. It's like, he might have this huge gap, still never going to buy because he still thinks he can do it on his own. He doesn't really think it's a problem, right? And it doesn't matter if he's at 3K a month, 30K a month, or 30 million a month. People have to admit and believe they have a problem. Otherwise, it's impossible to get them to buy anything, fundamentally. And then secondarily, so many people think, I could just do it on my own. I don't need help. I don't really want to do it faster. And even though they're telling you, I would do anything to go from 10K a month to 100K a month in 90 days. If they say, I think I can do it though, even if they've been there 5 years, if they don't admit they can't do it on their own, they're never going to buy. So how do I get people to buy? I get them to admit they have a problem, and I get them to admit they can't do it on their own. And that's it. 2 steps, 2-step selling system, or I guess 3 steps. Step 3, present the offer. That's it. 1, 2, 3, boom, they buy. When I was in solar, after my first sales appointment with this company, I realized they didn't like teach me anything that would help me to actually sell deals. And on my next meeting, it was like 90 minutes away, and I came up with the entire sales process in my head on the way there. And I was like, how am I going to get this guy to buy? This guy's got to believe that, he's paying too much for electricity. It's a problem. It's an issue. He needs to be paying less. He's getting screwed. He needs to do something about it. And then I need to get him to realize, like, there's no other way that you're going to be able to solve this, right? Solar is the only option. And then I got to be able to get the paperwork that proves, so I can actually show him that we can get him those results, right? And it was like, I just had to come up with a few key steps to make it make sense, where he's like, I have a problem. I can't solve it. I need it. And then evidence that we can get it. And it was just like, cool. And I showed up and I closed like 4 out of my first 5 appointments, because I just was like, this is every little thing in life. It's typically, things aren't usually in parable. It's not usually like, I need to get this done and this done and this done and this done. I'm going to, it doesn't matter which one comes first. Usually it's like, I got to do step 1, then step 2, then step 3, then step 4. And maybe something is a 2-step process or a 10-step process, but usually they're back to back to back to back. And I feel like in sales, that's absolutely true. There is a consistent, predictable path that you follow that will get you the result that you want. And for closing, I just explained it. And so for cold calling, it's the same thing. It's, okay, step 1, I got to get this person to basically like me and be willing to open up. That's step 1. That's it, right? I just got to get this person to be like, sure, like, you're cool. Let's hear your pitch. What you got? What's going on? Like, let's chat. In fact, I saw not a statistic. There's a guy who's Chris Voss, hostage negotiator. You guys have probably heard about him. He, on one of his little shorts, he said yesterday that people are 6 times as likely to buy from someone they like, right? Now, I don't know if that's true or not, but I trust the majority of what he says. So now I'm suddenly like, oh, it's really important that we make sure these people like us, right? So it's like, okay, if in the first 30 seconds, you just got to get this person to like you and want to be willing to have a conversation with you, it's like, cool, that's it. Get them to like us, get them to be willing to open up. 2, get them to admit they have a problem. 3, get them to admit they don't know how to solve it on their own, or they want to solve it on their own. 4, present the solution. Oh, that's it. And you think about it, and it's like, wow, I only got to learn 4 things. And if I can do that, I mean, you should be able to book 50% of the business owners you talk to. 50%. 100% of the time, it's 50% of the time. So the reason I wanted to bring this up is because I know we blast the phones all day, and we work really hard at it, and we're trying to do anything we can to make this work. But I really think that if you just realize that there's only 4 steps, and if you just like focus super hard on step 1 for a couple days or a week, you probably master it. If you were just like, I'm going to figure out how to make it so that every single person is like, you sound awesome, I can't wait to chat with you. In fact, Nikki's been booking me a lot of appointments the last couple of days. And like, I'm pretty sure the last 3 people in a row that I talked to were like, Nikki's so fantastic. Now, Nikki's been here 6 or 8 weeks. And the first 6 or 8 weeks, like, not generating a lot of appointments. She was in a bad niche. Landscapers, turns out, don't need help with marketing. But she was working super hard at it, and she like had to dial it in because she was in a super gnarly niche. Now she's talking to people that actually need help with that. And what do you know? She had her first 4-set day on Friday and is consistently hitting like 2+ a day now. because she just like mastered the few key pieces where now everybody loves talking to her. Like, oh, goodness, she was just so fun to chat with. I really just didn't want to hang up on her. She was so nice. Right? It's like, wow, cool. Okay, so how do we do that? Step one. How do we, if we just focused exclusively on it, we were to think, how do I make it so that every single person I talk to immediately likes me? And it's just like, yeah, like, I don't know who you are, but you seem cool. Let's do this. In fact, I'll say what I often train young sales reps to do, 18 to 22, 23, is like, if you're new in sales, ride that hard. Be like, hey man, I'm super new. I'm like 18. I've never done this, but I really believe in the company I work for. Will you mind giving me a shot? Most people will be like, you know what? Yeah, I mean, sure, I'm not going to hang up with you. Let's see what you got, kid. Right? Because people want to see young people succeed. And so even though you might not have the right, might not be saying the right things, you might not have the right tactics, they feel for you. And so it's like, whether you're 18 or you're 48 or somewhere in between, there's a way to talk that is going to get people to think, you know what? I like this person. I'm just happy to have a conversation with them today. So it's like, step one, figure that out. Just like, if you haven't figured that piece out yet, I would just focus on that exclusively every day from here until you've got it figured out. And then once that's done, cool. Piece one done. You're 25% of the way to booking 10 sales appointments every day. 25%. Step two, how do I get them to admit they have a problem? We could go right into it and say, I work with a bunch of companies like yours. We helped scale this big. Would you mind telling me your problem? We could say, hey, we typically deal with people like you who are dealing with this problem or this problem or this problem. Or there's so many different ways you can ask them about their problem. And you need to come up with a way that you think will work. Test it, test it, test it, test it. If you're just getting tons of crappy responses, tweak it. But don't tweak a whole bunch at once. Either you got to tweak your tone, you got to tweak how you say it, maybe you got to tweak the words, maybe you got to make it a totally different pitch. But if you just do it over and over and over again, and it's like that's the only thing that matters because you've mastered step one now. So 9 out of 10 people are letting you through the door. So now you're getting a million opportunities to do step two. Cool. Just keep doing that over and over and over again. And then eventually it'll be like, oh, now I get it. Now everybody's willing to open up. Or in my case, I feel like, I don't know, when I got it nailed, I don't know what it was, but it was definitely more than 50% of people would agree to just immediately tell me their problems. And, but I would say, I don't know. I don't know the numbers, but I feel like I could get maybe 75 or 85% of people to ultimately open up. Because even when they said no, I'd know how to have that perfect response. I'd know how to handle the not interested. So it's like you start thinking about that, and it's like, if you're just working on all the different pieces at once, and you have a 10% success rate on step one, you don't even get a chance with the others. So working on them is pointless. So it's like, if you master step one, then you get 90% of people to let you through. Then you master step two, and you get 80% of people to let you through. Then you master step three, like, it shouldn't take you more than a couple weeks to literally just master each of these pieces. And if you're struggling with any of them, take an hour or two a day and just be like, what are other people doing on the internet? I don't know, there's probably 1 million people cold calling today in the US, maybe more. Maybe there's 2 million. I don't know. There's a lot. Worldwide, tens of millions cold calling all day, every day. If you just look at the top 1% of them, that's hundreds of thousands of people. And there's probably thousands of them that are posting stuff online about the things that are working, why it's crushing, how they're getting people to actually say yes, how they're getting people to say, this sounds good, how they're getting people to admit, I would absolutely love help with that. And you can just go find those people online, listen to what they do, steal it for yourself, test it, try it, make it work. So, yeah. I want to empower you guys to be able to dominate quickly. And like I said yesterday, I realized like the tactics are important, but I think the mindset's a lot more important. And I think if you just get it in your head that you can dominate quickly, but it's not magic. You have to do certain things to dominate. You have to test new scripts. You have to ask why this isn't working. You have to know that if you can't get past step one, you shouldn't even be working on step two. But it's like if you all know that you can absolutely dominate and there's all the resources you've ever needed to learn anything right now out there. It's all out there, it's all free, it's on the internet. You can get the best of the best of whatever you need to be successful quickly. And you just got to decide, I am going to be amazing fast. And you can do it. So that brings me to one final point I want to talk about today. There's this guy, Simon Sinek. I've told a couple of you the story. I'm going to tell it now, but there's this guy, Simon Sinek. He's a really popular public speaker, and he has this, he does this speech on stage where him and his buddy had just finished a marathon. And at the end of the marathon, there's this big table with a bunch of bagels on it, and it says free bagels. And there's a big line to the table, and then there's people all around the table. And he looks at his buddy and he's like, "Oh, hey man, let's go. Look, they got free bagels here. Let's go get a free bagel." And his buddy's like, no, I'm good." And Simon's like, like it's a free bagel though. Don't you want a free bagel?" And he's like, "Yeah, but like, I don't, it's gonna take so long." Simon's like, "Free bagel." The guy's like, "Dude, just look at how long the line is. Like, I don't want to wait." Simon's like, "Free bagel." The guy's just like, "No." And so eventually Simon goes over and he sticks his arm between two people and he grabs two bagels and pulls them out, brings them over and hands it to his friend. And nobody gets mad and it's all good. And he gets the free bagels. And there's kind of two morals to the story. The first moral of the story is that, everyone can go after their dreams as long as you're not stopping anybody else from going after their dreams, right? He didn't make it so nobody else could get free bagels, but he just went and got what he wanted, right? He was like, "I want it," and he went and he took it, right? So that was the first thing. And the second thing was the way that people look at the world. So Simon, for example, all he saw was what he wanted. All he saw was the bagels, right? His friend, all he saw was the line. All he saw was the thing that was preventing him from getting what he wanted. And I truly believe that people see the world in this one of two ways. In fact, I'll admit that until like 2 years ago, I often saw things the wrong way. Like I saw why I couldn't get things. And that was made abundantly clear to me when I worked at that company that scaled to millions a month. The guy who was running it, he was 20 years old. He'd already generated 60 million in revenue by 20 years old. In fact, that's the whole reason I went and worked for him. I just wanted to learn how he thinks. And I remember whenever I brought up roadblocks or why I couldn't do things or why I needed help, he was just like, "That's BS, dude. Like you can just do it. You can figure it out. That's not preventing you. You just think it is." And I was like, "Huh?" And I just kept seeing that over and over and over again with three different 20 to 23-year-olds that I worked for who'd all made many, many millions. They just, babe, would you not please? They didn't see barriers. And what's crazy to me is when I met and married my wife. So my wife is from Colombia. We had to get her a green card. We got it like a year and a half ago. But what's interesting is the first 2 years of our marriage, like I had like some tax stuff going on, and I thought that because maybe we read something on the internet, that because of that, we couldn't actually put in the paperwork to get the green card stuff taken care of. And what's sad is until she got her green card, she couldn't go home to Colombia and see her family because otherwise she might not be able to get back into America. So it would cause this whole problem. And so we were just like in a holding pattern for 2 years. And then finally one day I got fed up and I was like, "You know what? Let's just do it. Let's just fill out the paperwork. Like, I bet we can just do it." And I think actually it was because, what do you know? I'd worked for these young 20-year-olds and I'd learned from them that like every barrier that we believe is perceived and it's just complete bullshit. And, we filled out all the paperwork, did all the stuff. We had friends who were going through the same stuff, who were spending thousands and thousands of dollars on lawyers. And I was like, "Bullshit, we don't need lawyers. We can fill it out ourselves." We filled everything out ourselves. We used no lawyers. We used no consultants. We filled it all out. We got approved in like no time. And boom, we got our green card. And everything that we thought we needed lawyers. We needed to fix this tax thing, those other stuff. It was all complete and utter horseshit. And the point that I'm trying to make here is that whatever you want, you can have. And there are no roadblocks. every roadblock, every objection, everything you think that is preventing you from getting what you want is completely made up. 100% of them, I guarantee it. If you say, I can't do this because of that, you're wrong. In every case, you are wrong every time. You can do whatever you want. You can be as successful as you want. You can book as many appointments as you want. You can make as much money as you want. You can have the relationships you want. And you just got to know that nothing is stopping you except yourself. And if you decide that you want it and you go after it and you believe that you can get past or through anything you think that might be holding you back, you're right. That's what I got for you guys today. Good luck today. Let's crush it.
Nice. Thank you, Christian, man.
Absolutely.
Have a good day.
Have a good day, everyone.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Uh.
Bye.